All right, Mike Figueredo. Oh shit, Mike. Mike Figueredo from the Humanist Report is in the film. Tell the Truth, Cenk. And this is one of those sequences. We're going to watch it, but first we're going to see his commentary on the leftist mafia from this episode that we're talking about. I was so relieved to see this. I was surprised. This happened during the week I've been talking about when everything kind of blew up on Twitter. And he followed me on Twitter too. I saw some other people with the higher profiles, or at least ones I recognized, followed me as well. So hopefully there's more interest in the film. And I had actually submitted a super chat to Humanist Report and a couple other Leftist Mafia guys or people, sorry, back in the first month or so of putting out the film in the spring of 2024 this year.
That's not.
Oh wait, no, this one is for me actually. They're out of order on YouTube compared to my back end. I'm sorry, winners and losers with $5. Hey, just posted clips of Tell the Truth, Cenk, a doc I'm making about TYT's union busting and Cenk's lies. I worked at TYT, would love some eyes. Okay, well, thank you for the recommendation.
Wow, that seems interesting. I want to see that.
I'll check it out.
Let
me see.
A few people from his audience came over and watched it and then got defensive about my how I showed Mike in the movie. And then there's also a Reddit post where someone had posted like, hey, there's this documentary that takes shots at Hassan and Humanist Report. So not everybody was reacting like that. And I only included it because I believed I could defend it. Now it's because the sequence in which he shows up is about how media figures or online commentators, Mike and others, received information that they were being given from Cenk. Not to say directly or under the table or, not secretively or anything, but like the whole point of this movie is that as a worker who started a union to try to get health care, I sat in horror as Cenk and TYT and Anna helped signal boost it, put out completely provably false information about how the union started, that it was a ploy by his political opponents to mess up his campaign, which is an absolute lie. Not true. Never was true. They would hang their hat on the fact that IATSE had endorsed Christy Smith, but that was reason to pause and do fact checking, not run with a story that was about the integrity of the workers. So anyway, I had been stressing a little bit about this, about the way that I had portrayed Mike in this, because I wasn't really familiar with him during most of my time at TYT. I'd known of the Humanist Report, but just didn't dial in on it. But in the last few years, I'd come to watch Leftist Mafia, watch his show some, and I have a lot of respect for the guy. I think he's thoughtful. I think he's smart. I think he has good takes. Such and such and such and such, right? I really think that they should have me on. I know you're not supposed to invite yourself, but you guys need to hear the story I got to tell. I think that your audience would want to hear the story. So, what the fuck? So with it going nuts with the film going crazy on Twitter in the last week or two, and other places with this whole drama stuff that's been happening, I was grateful to start seeing more mentions of it. And in this episode, they talked about TYT a ton, and this video that I had put together, you see the winners and losers logo, of Hassan and Will Neff on the Chuckle Sandwich podcast talking about Cenk's or Hassan's working conditions being exploited and stuff. That's not the word he used. That Cenk would steal his ad sales commissions and that he skirted labor regulations, all that stuff. I wasn't surprised to see this, but I was surprised to hear Mike talk about the film.
Yeah, so this was shared by Hank Thompson, by the way. Hank Thompson, he did a whole documentary on Cenk's union busting because this is one of the organizers of that union. And I watched it. It is really, really, really good and thorough. It's very well done. He has criticisms in that documentary of me as well and the way that I responded to it.
Where do you find it? Hank Thompson YouTube?
So if you go to his Twitter account, Hank_Thompson, he has it pinned so you can watch it. Okay. It's so well done. He has criticisms of me as well, but I think they're completely fair. Because the way that I responded to the union as well was I endorsed it, but then I took it back because I believed TYT when they said that it was a psyop by the DNC to basically tank Cenk's congressional career. And I shouldn't have done that, but I didn't want to be like part of a rat fucking campaign. And so I kind of like a coward, I just kind of like retreated. And I didn't say anything when I really should have spoken up. I should have stuck with my initial instinct. So like the way he covers it is just so good. It's perfect. So I'd recommend people watch that. But he did share this.
Perfect. And then they play the video of
and this is
talking about being
is really shocking.
I wanted to intern there. I want to move to Los Angeles. Okay, why am I doing that? So Mike took that criticism so incredibly well. I just want to shout that out. It's like it's very easy, and I think many of us get defensive when we're challenged or when something makes us look poorly or when something paints us in a light that we might not want to have seen. And I had thought that maybe I was being too aggressive, or maybe it missed the tone. I might have misunderstood some detail that maybe I completely missed, which would undercut my credibility as a guy making a documentary about credibility. It could have been something he would have rightfully maybe felt somewhat defensive about. I don't know if he'd want to beef with some no-name guy making a documentary or something like that, but it might have led towards more of his fans being defensive or something, which is fine too. And honestly, I still expect to see that a little bit, and at least I'll have this to share and be like, no, actually, Mike was cool. But one thing I kind of wish I had maybe done a better job of is conveying that this sequence is about responsibility from powerful people, not the responsibilities of the people who were less powerful, such as Mike. Mike trusted Cenk. Mike didn't have a reason to distrust Cenk. He might today, having seen the film, having gone through the last few years with this online politics mayhem. But at the time, it was totally appropriate for him to lean towards someone who he knew and who he thought was operating in good faith. He could have maybe made a different decision in terms of, I feel bad that he called himself a coward. I don't necessarily, respect to you for saying that. And honestly, I really do think that he and I could have a thoughtful conversation, because I really want to go deep on all these things. I think that's the interesting part of this project, or at least I hope for myself that's something of a reward, because it's been nothing but fucking misery, to be honest. So anyway, let's watch the sequence. This leads into it. I think 2 or 3 minutes of this, and but we'll see what he's talking about. Here we go. With over 1 million followers among these 3 accounts, the company narrative was out of the barn. Confusion and suspicion spread like tater tots in a food fight. While no shortage of randos made the mistake of trusting Cenk, so too did those with platforms of their own. A few examples from the Young Turks cinematic universe stood out. Jeff Waldorf of Waldorf Nation expressed suspicion and understandable confusion. The Humanist reports Mike Figueredo withdrew his support for TYT Union when the conspiracy reached him. He's against cahoots, so much so he stayed on management's side even after a worker from the very union he was talking about showed up in his mentions. Fair enough. Trusting a boss you know over a worker you don't is an understandable bias, especially when there's money and ambition on the line. Hey, I'm human too. When the eclectic radical added obviously, like a little wordplay there with the Humanist report, right? Me being a human who licks his finger. As you know, over a worker you don't is an understandable bias, especially when there's money and ambition on the line. Hey, I'm human too. Now, obviously, that's a little bit aggressive. Oh, and then there's more here. The eclectic radical added some clear-thinking perspective, including the right-wing nature of busting a union.
I used to be a Republican.
Mike remained where he was most comfortable. Sahil Habibi is the... So that cahoots bit is a bit... Mike remained where he was most comfortable. Sahil... Now, I edited that. That's one of the first... Not the first, but like this is near the beginning of this whole process. And I do remember editing that, and I don't mean this at Mike at all, but there's some anger there. There's this video is sculpted, so to speak, to, I'm really threading a lot of difficult to thread lines, but one of them I hope is that as a narrator, I am both objective and fair and reasonable, but also, and these two things don't necessarily work together, although they kind of do. a universe of righteous fury. Like I want the worker rage to sort of be reflected in the way this narrator is telling the story. That narrator being me, because there's a lot of fucking anger here, a lot, and I don't necessarily think that this was supposed to be an expression of anger, but I think it's defensible that the frustration of being the person who showed up in the mentions, again, not to say that Mike had any responsibility to me, or that he even could believe just some random guy coming on saying, hey, I was part of this. He might not even have seen this. I mean, it got some likes and stuff. He might have seen it. Who knows? And it would have been a fascinating sliding doors moment here. That's a film reference for you young kids. That had he maybe engaged me here, again, I'm not calling this out as like you're supposed to do this. I'm just saying that there is a pivot point here with if I could have shared with him actually what was going on and the things that I had to do to get this union going, and the reasoning why this whole thing was nonsense, because I was trying to push back, it would have been really fascinating, because what would he have done with that information? He probably would have then called it out, or at least looked into it, or used that as a foundation to go to TYT to ask them, maybe. I don't know exactly how you proceed, but it could have changed the trajectory of the entire deal. I'm just saying that as a kind of an interesting note. So there's a part of me that kind of, even now after seeing what he said, that I might have put this a little bit differently. It's mentions than that, but at the same time, I think it reflects this feeling of frustration and the underpin, or the movies about power, the movies about how media works, about responsibility to those who have power or don't. And Cenk failed. That's not even the right term. That implies that he had intended something to be not failure. But Cenk had a responsibility to protect people. I didn't feel protected when I didn't have health insurance working for his company. I didn't feel protected, nor did the other workers, when he attacked their integrity publicly by saying that the union originated by outsiders, which is complete erasure of the workers' story and the workers' version and their truth and their life. It's also partially why I wanted to do this project. Mike wasn't protected. He's in this video because he trusted somebody who was lying to him. Same is true of Jeff Waldorf. And let's push ahead a little bit here to Sahil Habibi, who played a much more aggressive role in illustrating what I believe, illustrating the case I'm making. And actually, before we do that, let's jump back here. I want to hear Mike say his version of the TYT stuff. So I really appreciated the way he phrased it, because I want to see more people getting their head around the story and like reflecting back to me in their own words, in their own interpretation, what happened and stuff. So the way he described the DNC plot was interesting.
Because the way that I responded to the union as well was I endorsed it, but then I took it back because I believed TYT when they said that it was a psyop by the DNC to basically tank Cenk's congressional career. And I shouldn't have.
A psyop by the DNC to tank Cenk's congressional career. That's an interesting way of putting it. So we jump back over. Here's the continuation. We'll just back up. Mike remained where he was most comfortable. Sahil Habibi is the progressive voice.
It's progressive voice.
He's the TMZ of political punditry.
Who's the TMZ of political punditry?
Anna loves him.
I love him.
She loves his show.
And I love his show.
The Harvey Levin of political punditry tweeted, "Poor Cenk got snaked by his employees." And in a video titled TYT's Cenk Uygur recognizes TYT union after air quote union busting controversy, he follows Cenk and Anna's lead in trashing the workers.
Those employees, those 15 employees, man, y'all suck, dude. I don't know what to tell you. You guys are terrible, man. I mean, thanks for laying out all this damage for your quest for, I don't know what, you're puffing up of whatever.
Well, it's clear he actually has some really great political instincts.
You actually have some really great political instincts.
On the right, Cenk's hypocrisy was gleefully slobbered over by not at all insecure. You get the wet emoji? You know what I'm trying to say with that one? They don't know what that they've never encountered. Yeah. The way Mike handled that, though, was really mature, impressive, and great. And I'm grateful that I don't have to like worry about explaining that. Because I was like, I got a lot of other shit that's heavier and more difficult and much more a part of my stress matrix than that. But it was one of those like loose ends that I was like, this mic thing is going to be a thing, because I also hope that Leftist Mafia might be interested in talking about it. I think they would be. It seems like a story they should care about. But you know, it's kind of about them. David Doyle's in it. I do have a clip from Lance that's where he's talking to Sahil about Cenk, actually, from the campaign, but I don't think it's not in the film.
Pretty much it. I mean, he's I know he's got some pretty heavy stuff in his past, right? Or is it just blown out of proportion?
Yeah,
like,
no, he's got a lot. Like he's not ordinary. Like he is not ordinary when it comes to his past. His past is very, very controversial. Like there's a video of him from a long time ago where he actually says that he's okay with bestiality if the animal is enjoying it. So this is not, like,
but was he saying that was that for the memes, or was that
no?
like
I think he was being
thing?
serious. He would say like he's a really bombastic guy, and had a lot of crazy takes, and so, you know, the dude is just he's just kind of he's got a seriously serious like bad past, and so he's not ordinary in that way, like at all. But,
I mean, I would still be for him beating out a centrist candidate who is in that writing. I would way rather have Cenk be in that writing personally. Like I would be throwing my weight behind Cenk. I think I've officially endorsed him for what little that's worth. So you know, that's as far as I'd go in terms of like what his modern day policy is going to be. I mean, hopefully he's renounced his pro-bestiality stance. I hope that's not something he's pushing forward anymore.
Lance is laughing at you, Jake. You know, so, and then what I've already done, and it's not edited, but I've been paying attention to this world. I've mapped out Mike's arc. So people we meet in the first half of the movie, we're going to revisit in the second half. We're going to do kind of an update chunk or something. The New York Times story needs to be updated. There's another appearance by Joe Rogan in the mix, and definitely more from Mike, because he went on his own journey with TYT in terms of his respect or appreciation for them too. So Mike's arc, he had a redemption arc baked into the film as it was going to come through, but I'm just super thrilled and grateful that he received it like that, and that also that he just had such nice things to say about how good the documentary was, because that's also the thing that I need most out of this whole fucking thing is I need to be done with it. I need to move on. I need to do something else. This is killing me. It's not, and hopefully something where I can get paid. I honestly, if I told you how much money I've made in the last 3 or 4 years, it's stunning. I don't even, really, truly horrid. Very validating though to see that, aside from just the reflection on Mike's character, but also my own intention and hope, and all this work might turn out to not be for nothing, because people do seem to want to know the story and want to hear about the story and what happened. So just to kind of relate this, and we're done here, we're wrapping it up, but I did want to correct the detail. This isn't to call anybody out, but it's fascinating to see that the story is starting to get out. Someone sent in a super chat to Rebecca that she's about to read about my situation, which it's like, wow. I mean, that's a sign that it's not just like me squeaking loud enough to get attention and someone says something. This is actually people are sharing about this whole thing, which I'm thrilled to see. And so again, like, this is not like a correction, like, hey, you're wrong. It's just more, but like, it's actually worse than what is told here. Here's Rebecca.
And the video editor that pushed for the union, he had to fight to get healthcare coverage from TYT for over 7 months. He was working 40-hour work weeks.
Wow.
Tigwick,
double wow. Here's that super chat, just because I saw it on screen. Work appropriate. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Not to me, I didn't. But the video editor that pushed for the union to fight to get healthcare coverage from TYT for 7 months. That's true, except it was actually 12 months. After the 7-month fight, I was switched from independent contractor to part-time and still working 40-hour weeks while called part-time. So it's actually like a lot worse, in my opinion. It's that moment they said, okay, we'll fix the independent contractor situation. we're just going to screw you in a different paperwork thing, and you're still not going to get benefits. If that's not something you should unionize about, I don't know what is, right? So, thanks. So yeah, thanks to the world. Thank you, everybody. Why am I doing this? Like I won the Oscars or some shit. But I'm so grateful to see people are interested in this story. I'm thrilled to see people are liking the quality of the work. I hope people, a few have said that's funny. I did go for it to be funny. The animated character part of it is sort of goofy and weird, and it's supposed to be quirky. And I didn't have an outline, man. I just was starting to work on it. And then I was just following my instincts, and it just like, I'm already off the rocker on a good day, but it would have driven me completely bonkers my entire life if I never said or something about this. And I'm an aspiring filmmaker who was in the middle of a really weird and an intense union thing, and then a weird and intense political event. And I have the foundation of interest in news and sports, news and politics for most of my life since I was a weird teenager. The video editing ability, the incentive to do it, the gumption to put it out, the knowledge of TYT, the credibility that comes from having a deep history with TYT. We heard Mike say that he's been a listener since 2008. I think I probably started in 2007 or so. Like I recall when Jill Pike was the regular, not Anna, or before Anna even showed up. No, it's not a competition, but like I had this strange long story here, and it's a way for me to do something with the last 14, 10, 12 years of my life. If I just went away quietly, I would have carried this strange story in my soul that would have eaten away at me like kryptonite in Superman's Cheez-Its, and it would have caused problems for me in that sense. But also, like, what did I get out of this time? This is hopefully of service to the labor movement. I hope it educates people that I could take this agonizing experience and put this work in on a personal side. I hope it leads to more work in terms of video something or other, or support directly as an independent producer, because I am unemployable. The autism makes me unemployable. It's super difficult. There's a reason autistic people have an unemployment rate in the 80 percentile. My hands make me unemployable, and doing this makes me fucking unemployable. Jimmy Dore and Cenk Uygur are both on my resume. I have a horrible resume, gaps in it. Really, that's really the worst part of it is the gaps. But like, this is going to make me far more unemployable. I mean, could you imagine a bigger red flag to a corporation? But there's people out there who need videos, and there's people out there that would like to work on stuff, or that get to know me and can assess the kind of person I am and might want to work with me on something. And I really hope to teach. That's actually something with the cat going away. Poor kitty. She deserves so much better.